what is the point of movies? Why do we spend our time staring at pictures and videos of things that aren't real? Animation specifically causes problems here because good animation can never be real, as by nature it takes advantage of its entirely fictional form factor. So not only are we watching fictional characters and representations of things that we could see in real life in movies, but in anime we see things and experiences that can never be real. And all of this begs the question, why? Obviously, there are plenty of answers to that question. Otherwise, I wouldn't be spending my days writing these videos on my favorite fictional works just to get 30 to 200 views on my YouTube channel. Clearly, there's something about anime that speaks to me on a level unlike anything else ever has. Were it not for my ridiculous obsession with Persona 5, I would never have had the drive to start this channel and maintain it, yet here I am. I think that there are two aspects of media that keep me invested: the connection and the message. I've talked briefly about connection in another video, so for today, I want to examine the latter of those two aspects and look at the message. Film as a whole, animated or otherwise, is a medium of entertainment first and foremost. But it's also something deeply personal. Upon first thought, the personal side of filmmaking may seem to be relegated to the filmmakers, as they have the most control and influence over the final product. However, film is arguably more personal to the viewer, as each and every person will gather different messages and themes from any movie that they're shown. I think a great example of this is any Hayao Miyazaki work. All of his projects and films hold a myriad of deep themes to dissect and unpack. And because of that, if you show a Ghibli film to any friend, they'll likely get something out of it that you never had. I remember the last time Spirited Away was being shown in a local theater. I took a few of my friends to go and watch it, some who had never seen anything Ghibli before. Watching their reactions to such a unique experience exemplifies the personal aspect of media consumption. These kinds of experiences spark my interest and capture my imagination. So let's look at one message that always stuck with me from Spirited Away, and my experience with the movie, as it is perhaps my earliest memory of anything Ghibli related. In last week's video, I spoke about how I would always watch Ghibli films when visiting my relatives on the northwest coast. Of course, since I couldn't see those movies elsewhere, it was my goal to watch as many as possible while on vacation so that I could stock up on memories and viewing time before we eventually had to return home. After consuming hours and hours of movies, there was always one film that stood out in my mind on rainy car rides down the northwestern coast. Spirited Away is no doubt the most popular Ghibli film, and one of the highest grossing anime films of all time, second only to Makoto Shinkai's massive success Kimi no Na wa. And while contrarians may call it the entry-level Ghibli film or a lesser work due to its popularity, I think that most reasonable people can agree that it's an absolute masterpiece. But this brings us full circle. What is it about the film that captures the hearts and minds of so many people across the globe? Like any smash hit that breaks records worldwide, there's obviously more to Spirited Away than I could talk about in one video. But let's look at one reoccurring theme that always stood out in my head: greed. As previously mentioned, greed is a reoccurring theme in Spirited Away, and that comes up a number of times throughout the film. It's most apparent in the character No Face, but other characters such as Yubaba, Chihiro's parents, and the workers of the Spirit Bathhouse are also representative of this theme. All of these characters show themselves to be greedy or overindulgent in some way or another. For the workers, they're obsessed with gold. When No Face shows up, he's at first rejected. That is, until he starts throwing gold around like it's nothing. Everyone immediately drops what they're doing to cater to No Face and satisfy his every desire in an attempt to get some of his gold. They let a dangerous spirit into their business and home, all for a chance at some cash that ends up being false gold in the end. The film is clear that this is not admirable behavior, and makes sure to display what happens when you let your greed guide you. Just like how Chihiro's parents became pigs, Miyazaki makes sure to punish those who overindulged in gold and money to the detriment of their bathhouse. This punishment comes through No Face, as his patience runs thin and he begins devouring the people who were so quick to accept his money. Their greed let No Face into the bathhouse, and now they have to pay the price that comes with falling victim to such a basal instinct. On that note, another depiction of greed lies in the titular character of No Face. No Face is not concerned with money like the bathhouse workers, but he is by all measures consumed by his desires. He gulps down anything put in front of him, whether it be meal or living creature. No Face's greed leads him on a destructive path through the bathhouse that makes for an unsettling display of gluttony and hunger, unparalleled by anything else the viewer sees in the movie. The scenes where No Face is rampaging through the bathhouse are genuinely frightening. In fact, it was this atmosphere that made me so enamored with Ghibli films when I was young, because no other animated movie I had ever seen was so intense. No Face's story of greed, however, is less grim than that of the workers. By accompanying Chihiro on her journey, he escapes his overpowering desire and finds a friend in her. No Face goes from an uncomfortable antagonist to a sympathetic spirit, and I think that there is an explicit intention behind this transformation. Miyazaki isn't trying to demonize those who struggle with greed and desire. The point of the film is not to point at selfish desire and say that no one should experience that, but rather, like with Princess Mononoke, it's about balance, or as it applies here, moderation. Moderation and balance are very similar concepts, just applied to different things. Miyazaki shows that through moderation and self-control, No Face can become a likable character, and he certainly has become a very beloved part of Ghibli, as is evident by the massive amount of merch made in his image. The theme of moderation doesn't live and die by No Face either. Chihiro's parents both struggle with this at the start of the film, and as punishment from the spirits, they are turned into literal representations of their excessive behavior, pigs. In fact, the imagery of pigs is used a lot in Spirited Away, but I won't talk about it here. Why this is important is that it makes Chihiro view these actions and their consequences. All through this coming-of-age story, she is surrounded by greed-driven, selfish characters, and she, a 10-year-old girl, has to step up and take responsibility in order to get her parents back and deal with the rules of the spirit world. I think this arduous journey through a self-centered cast of characters is an excellent environment to craft a character like Chihiro, because it allows the viewer to empathize with her and see the themes and message through a simpler lens. In the movie, she constantly chastises those around her for their selfish actions, and she seems almost disgusted or confused by their greed. Chihiro is the moral compass by which all other characters are judged, and this is a result of her growth in the film. She learns firsthand the importance of hard work in her time working in the bathhouse, and she also sees the effect that greed has on both patrons and workers alike. Drawing from these lessons, she develops into a much stronger character that leads to a satisfying arc in the end of the movie. I think it's reasons like these that we spend our time watching stories about people who never existed in worlds that never could exist. We watch them not as scientific documents or empirical articles, but rather as an opportunity to experience something new and learn about either the world or ourselves in the process. Hayao Miyazaki's work has so many great themes and messages that make them into great films. I know, at least for me, themes like the one seen in Spirited Away are what keep me interested in this style of art. There's no better experience than watching a well-written, impactful story unfold before your very eyes, and I think that is the point of film. Hey there, thanks for making it to the end of the video. If you made it this far, then you probably liked what I had to say. So if that's the case, make sure to leave me a like so I know I'm doing something right. Also, be sure to hit subscribe so you can catch all of my upcoming videos. If it interests you, I also have a Twitter and an Instagram. Links to those will be below. But with all that YouTube stuff out of the way, I just want to say thanks for watching, and I hope to see you next time.